Hello, and thank you for listening to this brand new episode of our podcast. I am Juan, here with my friends Kevin and Mark, and we like movies. Fellas, say hello.
Oh,
Hello.
hey.
There they are. It always takes them a second. All right, let me start this off with a riddle for you guys. You
Ooh,
ready?
I love it already, yeah.
How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if Pinocchio got some wood?
Hi-yo. That's a lot of wood.
Keeps growing.
Never ending, baby.
Well, Guillermo del Toro might have an answer to that riddle,
That's-
as he has spent a lot of time working on his latest feature, the 2022 film Guillermo del Toro Presents Pinocchio. Now, this Pinocchio was released on Netflix on December 9th, 2022. Supposedly, it's been in the works since all the way back to 2008, but it is a stop motion animation film that features the vocal acting of Ewan McGregor, David Bradley, Tilda Swinton, Christoph Waltz, Kate Blanchett, Gregory Mann, Ron Perlman, John Turturro, Finn Wolfhard, and Tim Blake Nelson. It is co-directed by Del Toro and Marc Gustafson, and it provides a fresh retelling of the beloved classic. This was Mark's pick. I don't think that was Mark.
Who knows?
We got a fourth member chiming in here. But anyway, let me jump into the synopsis before we go further. Pinocchio, as very many might already know, begins as the story of Geppetto, which is sadly a name you don't hear too often anymore. But he is an entrepreneurial widowed woodcarver in a small town in Italy who lives an idyllic and quiet life with his 10-year-old son Carlo. However, Carlo is killed when a warplane carelessly drops a bomb onto the church where Geppetto was working on a wooden crucifix sculpture. After Carlo had run back into the building for the pine cone that he had forgotten. Heartbroken, Geppetto falls into his grief with despair and alcohol. Then, on a drunken stupor, he chops down a pine tree near Carlo's tomb and carves up a new boy to fill the void left by his son. After Geppetto passes out for the night, a magical, supernatural, life-giving force decides to animate Pinocchio to end Geppetto's sorrow and loneliness. It also makes a deal with a cricket named Sebastian J. Cricket to grant him one wish if he looks after Pinocchio and ensures that he becomes a productive member of society. Geppetto awakens to find an energetic and rambunctious boy now living in his home. He struggles with this reality. After also being rejected by the townsfolk, Pinocchio is lured to join the circus, a place where he might be of better use and where he can help Geppetto by sending him his earned wages. Unfortunately, the ringleader, Count Volpe, who made Pinocchio sign a contract, does not have pure intentions. Along the way, Pinocchio is killed, and it is during this time that he discovers that he is eternal, and after a period will come back to life. Geppetto sets off to reunite with Pinocchio, while Pinocchio learns the ways of the world and embarks on his own adventure that even takes him to a fascist youth camp and a brush with the war. Will Geppetto ever reunite with Pinocchio? Will Pinocchio become a real boy? Will Sebastian get his wish and finish his memoirs? This film was produced by Netflix Animation and the Jim Henson Company. It had an estimated budget of $35 million, a runtime of 1 hour and 57 minutes. It can be viewed in select theaters and on Netflix. Mark,
Stick to
in note
Netflix.
What? Yeah,
Sorry.
stick to cooking.
Sorry.
Although I hear they're gonna be cracking down on the sharing.
Yeah, yeah, I might
We'll
feel
see.
that.
You'll have to catch me. But Mark, in no particular order, kindly tell us why you picked this film and what your initial response to it was.
Well, the biggest reason, because Pinocchio's a well-known tale, is because of Guillermo del Toro. I like thing that he has his beautiful man hands on, and so I that kind of just pulled me in right there. I like that it was the stop motion animation because usually that tends to be very crisp and just enjoyable to watch. And knowing how long he put into this, and it just made me appreciate how much it was better looking to me, knowing how much went into this. So that was my initial reason. I said I don't really care what it's about. It's Guillermo del Toro. I'm in. So upon watching it, I did enjoy that it was a bit of a darker story, I guess. Um, I really feel like it was only darker because of the beginning, but I feel like the movie started off well, and it went through its motions and told its tale. But towards the end, I feel like the end was kind of clunky, and it was just kind of like, oh well, we have to end it, so here we are, and so it was unfortunate how it ended, but I did enjoy the movie as a whole.
Okay, uh, Kevin and man's best friend over there, whichever of you wants to go
Who's going
next.
Okay.
first?
All right. So y'all heard my dog earlier because this was a dog of a movie. Um, it it was it was beautiful. It's like dating a beautiful woman that's vapid and has nothing to say. That's what I watched. I would have gone with, as Juan said, Geppetto's a long lost name. If they called it Geppetto and would have focused more on Geppetto, I thought it was kind of cool in the beginning, like Mark said. Pinocchio was unlikable. For the love of God, why did they make it a musical? Those songs sucked. Like if I wasn't sick already watching it, this movie would have made me sick to my stomach. I did not enjoy this movie. Like again, I was like, there's nothing enjoyable. This kid is a pain in the like. He's not a good kid. He didn't even grow. It was beautiful to watch, but most of it I also felt was like, oh yeah, look, there's that little beast in the afterlife. Yeah, that looks like a Guillermo del Toro creature. And like I said, I was not a fan of this movie. I'm like, I did take me a while to watch it, and I regretted it once I did. But we watched it, and
Well,
yeah,
you had no
did
choice.
not.
There's
Yeah, I
nothing to
had no
regret. You
choice.
had no choice.
But it was. But again, it was beautiful to watch. But as we said before, like that's you need more. And like I didn't think the story was enjoyable, and I felt let down because maybe I expected more from it, but it was just yeah, it was a dog of a movie, and if I wish I had fire so I could throw this wooden story on it and burn.
No
There we go.
lie, when they started singing, I was like, "Oh, nice. Kevin will be interested now."
For the love of God, it was. They were like these songs. Even my girls were like, "Why are these songs boring?" I'm like, "I don't know, baby." And then they
Hey,
kept singing, and then it wasn't just one song. They just kept going at it.
Yeah, it
and
felt tacked on.
be nice to Tilda Swinton. She's more than a beast in the afterlife. But
We
also,
shall see.
come on, that boy did have the voice of an angel, though.
Yeah, he
I,
did
I'm,
when
I'm
he's singing.
I'm not saying it wasn't nice sounding. It's just they were boring. I could if I never hear those songs. Like when we reviewed what was Belle, like those songs were amazing. The girls played them on for weeks, and this one, if I never hear that music again, I'm good.
That's no West Side Story. I'll tell you that much.
Okay, a very passionate opinion there from Kevin. My impression is not too removed from that one is that while this movie is ridiculously impressive with fine and obsessive creativity and attention to detail, there are some character and story problems that are hard to overlook, which hurt the film. It took me three different viewings to watch this because each viewing, I kept having to rewind because I kept falling asleep. So I had to go back to watch the stuff that I missed. Obviously, that's a huge problem. Um, but also, I'm just confused about how I'm supposed to view this movie, right? Because if I view it through maybe like the eyes of a child, right? Through a less critical, less scrutinizing filter of a casual moviegoer who's not going to be bothered by holes and gaps in character and story, then I don't know how to come to terms with some of the more mature concepts and themes which the movie seems to want to produce of introspection and contemplation. But if I do view it as an adult and as a keen observer that's critiquing a highly stylized and far reaching work of cinematic art, then I can't overlook the blatant and egregious inconsistencies and discrepancies. So, what I end up feeling like is like I saw something that was beautiful, jaw droppingly impressive, meticulously created, with some truly wonderful performances, but vastly flawed and maybe a little bit boring.
Still gave you heartburn.
Mm,
So I will say I was drawn in a lot by the animation, and I mean I think that's kind of the biggest thing that all of us can agree on is that this, I mean, it was a beautiful movie to watch, and even just going into detail of just the mouth movement and the eyes, like there's a lot of detail there,
hmm
and it's impressive how they created this movie.
Yeah.
If it's all, claymation, then that's even more impressive. If they threw in some CGI for, like, extra bits and bobs, then okay, I'm still impressed. But um, I mean, the movie itself was just, it was amazing to watch. It was amazing to look at.
Dude, there was no CGI.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. And it gave me James and the Giant Peach vibes. Like
Yeah,
the characters kind of had the same. They looked kind of the same.
yeah, yeah. I kept thinking I've never seen James. I mean, I know James the Giant Peach, but I've never watched the whole thing. But it reminded me of like Isle of Dogs
Hmm.
from Wes Anderson, and also kind of because I recently saw Nightmare Before Christmas, which
Mm,
also has a ridiculous amount of detail.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, no, I mean, even I love the way Pinocchio looked.
yeah,
Like he looked like he was like had just been carved out of a tree.
yeah,
And I thought that was really cool. And actually, going back to something that you said at the beginning, which yes, this is a darker take. Because they added, the component with the 10-year-old son Carlo who dies, and then they're in the midst of this war. Um, but I don't know why. Maybe because, like, I think this Christmas they released like a horror Grinch,
yeah.
and maybe that was on my mind. Like, I thought this was gonna be like a horror Pinocchio, so I
Mm,
actually, I actually thought it was gonna be even darker, and more of a twisted, retelling. For so I mean, to be honest with you, I don't I think that's part of the reason why I was falling asleep. It wasn't necessarily that this movie was boring. It's just that because they're retelling, this timeless story, you pretty much, except for those few things they added. I mean, one is right at the beginning,
hmm.
and then the other one is kind of a plot point throughout, but it's pretty much the same story that we've already heard 100 times, and that's not really thrilling, or it's not really that engaging, because like I tried watching it at different times of day with the same result, where my wife was even making fun of me at one point. She's like, you fell asleep again, but I think it was that it's like it's you
Did
know
she watch it through?
Oh, no, no, she
Uh,
didn't. No, she didn't watch it at all.
She wasn't interested. Well,
Yeah.
I actually watched this with Kristen, and I fell asleep the first time, so we stopped it, and then went back to it again. Um, so it's just it's funny that you said that because yeah, I definitely was right there with you. Um, I mean just to start with the beginning and I guess just talk through it because I kind of get the vibe we're all gonna have the same feeling towards this movie. Um, I enjoyed the quote unquote darker theme, but I feel like at the end they didn't go that way, and it was kind of a cop out. Um, the beginning though, just the scenes with Carlo, when all that happened, that absolutely like killed me, and I felt Geppetto's pain. And Kristen actually told me, she goes, this is a movie of you and Apollos. You are Geppetto, and Apollos is Carlo, because that's exactly what you would do if something happened to Apollos. And I was like, now I'm even more invested in this movie.
Yeah, that'll do it.
And no, the best part to me was like I think Geppetto's story of growth and wanting to like, hey, I miss my son so much, I want to recreate him. And no,
Yeah.
you're not like him. And his storyline and his character arc I thought was well done
Hmm.
because he actually had to deal with all these repercussions. And like I said, if it was called Geppetto when it focused more on him, I would have been, I think it would have been a better movie.
Yeah.
But the Pinocchio, like I said, it's just I
He had
like he
no
did he
chill. Like there was no moment where he felt like a real boy. So um it was tough to enjoy when he was on screen. And he just did, and I understand he's supposed to, be learning, but he just did a lot of dumb things.
Yeah.
And even when people were telling him no, he would just sing his way through it, going, "No, I'm still gonna do it." And it just, yeah, it got annoying. It wasn't fun anymore. In the Disney version, you know, you, I feel like Pinocchio actually starts getting this understanding of what it's like to be a boy, and then you're rooting for him. I never rooted for this one.
uh,
I was
and
like,
I
my
think
God, please stop talking.
in the Disney one, they gave him like a purpose. He's like, "Oh, I want to be a real boy." Like
Yeah,
this Pinocchio didn't want to be a real boy. Like he becomes one at the end,
he just wanted to
but he
have his
was,
his feet on fire.
yeah. He's like, "Oh, I want to do this. I want to do this." He just kept bobbing from one thing to another, and everyone controlling him.
Yeah,
And then when he sacrificed himself at the end, he's like, "Oh, yeah, I want to be a real." Like, oh, now I'm a real boy. Tacked on because not Jiminy Cricket made the wish.
Well, it was very weird. So a couple things. One, I do agree. Like at first, I was kind of, um, it kind of had me at first when it was more like focusing on Geppetto, and kind of thought that that was the angle that they were going to stick with because it was interesting how they gave him now all this backstory. But then it shifted to the focus being on Pinocchio, obviously. But initially, I was thrown off because there were so many different accents happening. And even with Geppetto, I'm like, why does he have a British accent? Like he's an Italian cobbler. And then Pinocchio had an English accent too. Like the accents at first like threw me off.
yeah,
Pinocchio eventually he grew on me a little bit. He was very annoying at first. He did kind of grow on me to at least where I could like swallow it and tolerate it. But that's the problem. Like what you're saying is an interesting dynamic, right? Because Pinocchio's around real boys, and then he's like, "Well, I want to be like them." In this one, he was more like, "No, I don't want to be like Carlo. I don't want to be like anyone else. I want to be Pinocchio." But it's like, dude, you were just carved up out of wood 5 minutes ago. How do you know what any of this means? You
yeah,
know, it was like, on one hand, you were expected to kind of find it amusing or whatever, like his naivety and his, innocence. But then there were other things that he like inherently knew
hmm,
that just didn't make sense, that like completely ruined, the character or my interest in him, or just the believability
hmm,
about who essentially, it was just confusing, like who actually this character is.
yeah. I did like his introduction though when he first when he was like not cursed, but when he was given his magical power and he was in the attic and Geppetto's like, "Come out!" and he comes out like crawling backwards and he stands up backwards and his head turns around. I was like, "Oh man, this is gonna be creepy. I love it." And I feel like that that creepiness, that slash darker theme could have stayed true because I thought they were trying to set that up with the whole angel and how, when you die, time passes. I was fully expecting him to go back and Geppetto was going to be dead. I was
Yeah,
expecting that to
Yeah,
happen.
me too.
yeah,
So that I like what they were set. I really feel like they were setting up for that because every time he died, it was a little. So every time Pinocchio dies, he goes and sees this angel or wood sprite or whatever they want to call it,
yeah.
which I thought was very interesting. Did you notice that they did the have you seen like you've seen the biblically accurate angels where they have like eyes all over them?
The
And
The
cherubim.
the
yeah,
multi wings. Yeah.
right. So this creature had like those eyes all over, and I thought that was very interesting. I wasn't sure if they were trying to tell us that this was an angel, but clearly the
That was
credits say
death. That
wood
was
sprite.
death.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that he saw with the times that he died was death. It was
Hmm.
played by the same character, but like the ones that animated him were that was the wood sprite.
Oh, okay.
And the one, yeah, when he died, like that was death. And
That
yeah,
was death. Okay.
yeah, it had like a definitely like a biblical feel to it because I think it had like it had different body like the parts of different animals. I think like the
Yeah.
tail and uh-huh.
Right, just like is in the Bible, like the creature has many different parts,
Hmm.
what you see. So that was interesting, and I thought that was pretty cool. But I felt like that ended up being like a waste, like it was just there to be cool because nothing came out of it. And Geppetto, like I didn't understand. I really didn't feel like Pinocchio did anything to warrant being a real boy. So when they just brought him back, I was like, I feel
Yeah,
like they're just doing this because that's how it has to go.
yeah.
There was nothing that I felt was redeeming for Pinocchio. I didn't feel like he had learned anything, he had gained any new knowledge, and you know, it just oh well, we have to do it because that's the movie. We can't just let him. So I was kind of disappointed that they didn't go the darker route because they definitely started off that way, showing us Carlo's death, and showing us the interaction Geppetto and Carlo had and then seeing Geppetto at his lowest moment, but then at the end we don't get any suffering for Pinocchio. There's everything worked out for Pinocchio.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird too that like he by the end of the story, it's almost like Pinocchio becomes such a big part of his life that
Hmm.
he kind of like it completely fills the void left by Carlo, who
Hmm.
was like his real son.
Yeah.
It's almost like, how some people love animals that they treat them like human beings.
Hmm.
It was a similar thing where it was like, okay, I mean, I get that now you have this friend, but it like overshadowed the whole almost it just almost felt like, all right, forget Carlo now, I have you. So it kind of felt like they made him like this afterthought kind of.
A-
Well,
And it's funny that you said. Sorry, Kevin. Go ahead.
no, I will say I did have one note, which reminded me when Juan said it. I do think about the storyline. Well, again, it has more to do with Geppetto's story. It started showing like the dangers of making our children into idols, where like
Mhm.
it's this is where I'm getting all my help and everything. And Carlo dies, so you have nothing. So you create this graven image of him, and now he comes to life. And like I said, it lets you down because it's not going to be what you thought it was.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, you're fine. Um, oh yeah, I was gonna say. So going off of what Juan said, like I don't feel like Geppetto and Pinocchio really had a relationship before
Yeah.
Pinocchio died, and he wasn't teaching him anything. He wasn't like being a father. I think he was just trying to shelter him and keep him away because he was still shocked at what he was seeing. So like it didn't feel like there was any relationship that was growing. And then it's just at the end, oh well, I'm gonna give my life for him. Like, but why? Why would you do? there
Yeah,
was no, there was nothing that warranted that because like you didn't really. I don't feel like he thought Geppetto was his father. I just feel like he was enjoying being alive, and he's just living life and singing, you know,
yeah.
and I didn't feel like there was any relationship that we got to see between Geppetto and Pinocchio outside of him just, making sure he stays safe.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. That yeah, that just that intimacy and that closeness and that relationship between them. Yeah, in some ways I think you could argue that there was better dynamics between Pinocchio and Count Volpe.
Yeah.
You know, it and it was just something about their interaction, yeah, and also about, I mean, that was one of the great performances, which was Christoph Waltz, which
hmm
aside from Ewan McGregor, although Ewan McGregor doesn't count because I already knew that Ewan McGregor was the cricket. Aside
Yeah,
from that, like, I didn't really know who the rest of the cast was, but like as soon as I heard Count Volpe, you just know that's Christoph Waltz, man. I mean,
bro, I 100% knew that the great Kate Blanchett was Spazzatura. You need to stop.
get out of here, get out of here.
Dude, when I heard about that, how she's like, I need to be in your next movie. And this guy straight up says, the only role we have available is a monkey. And she goes, you son of a, I'm in. And she is in. But dude, she's credited for it. I died, man.
Yeah,
I think I saw this movie a couple times now. Oh, not because I fell asleep, but because I really wanted to watch and see what am I missing, because every time it ended, I was just like, man, this doesn't feel like a GDT movie. But I think the whole thing is that this is just like gorgeous to look at, and that's where Guillermo del Toro like left his mark. I don't think he had. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. But anyways, no, I thought that was hilarious when I found out that Kate Blanchett was Spazzatura.
well, I have two questions.
Yeah,
Let me go with the first one. The
have
first
two
one
answers.
is when with the first 5 or 10 minutes, the Carlo backstory. Like, do you think they added that because they were like, oh, this adds so much more depth to Geppetto, and it's gonna add such a heavy, dramatic, element to this character and to this story, or do you think they just added that because if Geppetto didn't have a son that died, then he's just an old man that wants a 10-year-old boy?
I definitely think that whole scene was for shock value to bring you in, to reel you in and go, this is what we're doing, because that same vibe didn't that wasn't shown throughout the movie. That wasn't shown at the end. I mean that was pretty crazy. That was pretty big. You they purposely show you this relationship that these two have. And literally they're singing through it, you know. And then by the end of it, we see, Carlo's death and Geppetto hitting rock bottom. I mean, I when he was making Pinocchio, I felt his pain.
Yeah,
Like that was a deep scene, And but once Pinocchio comes alive, it was just a different movie after that. It was kind of like, all right, well, let's just. I feel like they just put a GoPro on Pinocchio and let's watch him. Let's see what he does. And that's what it was. Because yeah, there was like Geppetto just running out. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Hey, don't do that. That's not what Carlo would do. And then that was it. So
yeah,
yeah, I think that beginning scene was just for like shock to reel you in. I'm like, oh man, this movie's grabbing me by the balls, but it was, it was those small rubber hands, that was
yeah.
grabbing me by the ball.
Okay, Kevin, you want to chime in on that?
Like I believe it was meant to build up to why Geppetto he can have a little bit of weight, and why when when Pinocchio isn't like Carlo, why it bothers him so much.
Mm,
And I do, again, like I said, I do think it gives weight to Geppetto's story and his arc, which was, I think, the better of the arcs. But ultimately, I just think it led up to an ending that I don't know if y'all seen AI by Steven Spielberg. I felt like it was supposed to going for like an AI type ending, but it wasn't as impactful because he just went off for new adventures into parts unknown.
hmm
That is a great point. If you sit back and close your eyes after you've seen this movie and you think about, you know what, if we just shifted all focus towards Geppetto, because I mean that boy was looking for Pinocchio. He's running around and trying to find him, and we just see Pinocchio tap dancing his way through life. Um, I think yeah, if this movie would have been like Geppetto, and we're watching his story unfold and what he has to do, I think that would have made more sense at the end where they're giving up so much for Pinocchio because you see Geppetto and everything that he's doing for Pinocchio instead of just us watching Pinocchio just do absolute dumb things with dumb people, you know. Um, I feel like because at the beginning that's what we see. Like we're with
Yeah,
Geppetto, we're watching his relationship, we're watching what happens to him, we're watching how he responds, and then after that it shifts to Pinocchio. You
yeah,
know, it's a drastic change,
yeah.
um, in view. You know,
And it was, I mean, too drastic even because again, you're going from the heaviness of that, right?
yeah,
And I think like the experience that you had, I mean, I think we all had that just because it was so well done,
yeah,
and then he's like, drinking himself, stupid, and you're like, whoa, this is a kids movie, you know. But you get it, like, wow, it's just going really dark. And then next thing you know, you got this annoying little kid bouncing everywhere, and Geppetto's like all confused, and it's like, it was this leap, that was too drastic.
yeah.
And not only that, maybe if at that point the focus still remains on Geppetto, and now him reeling and trying to make sense of all this, but no, now we're just following Geppetto, or Pinocchio, and are just supposed to be on him now, and that was just, again, some arc, some backstory.
Yeah.
Um, it was an awkward shift that I don't think it was given time, or whatever, to kind of flow it smoothly and naturally.
Well, I also don't. I think it doesn't help that Pinocchio wasn't really likable. He got annoying very quickly.
Hmm. Yeah.
and that made the movie drag every time he was on. You're like, okay,
So what did
Oh, he's
what
still
did you
triggering.
guys think about, because we haven't even talked about really like the war and Pinocchio going off to like youth camp with
Candlewick.
Candlewick. Yeah. But what did you think about, because now there's so many different plot points, and for me that was another thing that hurt the film, is that you start to lose focus, and there's so much going on, where like Geppetto's mourning, and then he's adapting to life with Pinocchio, and even he doesn't really like Pinocchio at first. He's clearly annoyed by him, and then Pinocchio's like trying to learn how to be a real boy and what that means, and then he's off in the circus, and then he's or having to decide between going to the circus or going to fight for Italy, and then he's in the circus, and then he's transported to the youth camp, and then Geppetto and the cricket are in the fish, and then there's the detours into the afterlife, and it's like it was a lot going on, which I think just again also kind of hurt the flow of the movie, and just even the character development.
There was a lot of tough decisions for this wooden boy to make. No, when the whole war thing started happening, I started laughing. I'm like, I think I kind of was hoping, I'm like, please, I literally said, please tell me this kid kills someone. I will die laughing if I see him grab a bayonet and just shove it in someone's chest, going, oh, I don't know what I'm doing.
Do you know what they should have done? This should have been a movie about the Pinocchio from Shrek.
I'm a
He's
real
always
boy.
yelling, freaking out about everything.
That
Uh,
Pinocchio would have killed someone. That guy wears a thong.
oh, 100%. 100%.
So did you?
It felt like a set. It felt like a segue. That just felt like a segue to get us to, you know,
Mhm.
to the next portion of the story, and for us to see Geppetto and all he has to do to get to Pinocchio. Because again, like I feel like that was more influential, like what Geppetto is doing, as opposed to how Pinocchio somehow signed up for the war. You know, because it's just so crazy. Like, who's gonna allow a wooden, like, it just, yeah, it was funny, but I feel like that was another missed opportunity. We were focusing on the wrong view.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. I think I like the way you said, that it just felt like this segue, and partly I think it was even an awkward segue because it was. I think it was more to show like this other dynamic of sons with Candlewick and Podesta, his
Hmm.
father, who was like a captain or whatever for the fascist army.
Yeah.
And obviously, he was a terrible father. But did you?
Hold on. I will say about that whole when he was going to train for war and there was that explosion and Pinocchio got flung over the wall. Like we thought Candlewick died, and I was like, "Oh, they just killed that boy." And then he
See,
runs out. I was like,
but
"Oh wait, he's still alive. How is
I
that
would have been
possible?"
cool with that because that's the vibes that I feel like they were trying to give us. Like, yo, we're about to show you some stuff that you're not ready for. But
Mhm.
then they just started touching on it, like, we're not gonna do it, but we could have, you know. And that's that. I think that's what killed it. Like, if you're gonna start off as deep and dark as you are, then let's go for it, baby. Like, ruin my life. Like, I want this movie to haunt my dreams, you know. But
You
we didn't get that.
wanted a Vietnam flashback of
Hell yeah, man.
Candlewick dying in Pinocchio's arms.
I want to see Pinocchio rocking back and forth. I don't want to be a real boy as bullets are whizzing by him. Like, that would have
Just
been
hold
great, you know? Why are you
as he
showing him in the war if he's not going to have to deal with that?
and he just holds Candlewick's arm to blast it off.
Candlewick, hold on, buddy. You're not going to die on me.
um, there was a giant mistake in that scene. Where
Oh,
in the youth camp,
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you guys caught it.
Wait, continue.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but at least it seemed like a mistake to me. When he first goes to that camp and it's the first night, and he's sleeping in the bed next to Candlewick,
Mm-hmm.
and they start to have like this, who's tougher kind of competition. Candlewick still doesn't like Pinocchio.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like arguing and competing, and Pinocchio, they start to yell at each other, and they have this exchange about like who's tougher.
Mm-hmm.
And I rewinded it to get the exact quote, but Pinocchio says, in this moment, right, trying to prove that he's more of a tough guy or whatever. He says, "I love war. I love it 24/7 every day and anytime." So unless he's honest and he's a psychopath, and his next line would have been, "I love the smell of napalm in the morning," then I think it's safe to say that he was lying in that moment. So why didn't his nose grow?
Because I think that in that moment he was just enjoying doing what he was doing. Not that he understood what he was doing, but that, there's explosions, there's flashing lights, people are running around. I don't know.
like,
It was an eye roll moment, like, oh, whatever. But I feel like that's what they were trying to go for.
but, but I don't think it was a lie because he doesn't know what war is. So
Yeah,
it's not like he didn't love war. He's like, I love war because he just loves it. He just wants to be a part of something.
yeah.
So I guess that's how they could explain away that it wasn't a lie. But
But I think
that's
I hear you, and I think That's a legit explanation. But I think I would then like to go back and watch it one more time to try to find other moments where he did something similar and his nose did grow. Um, maybe I want to find an error, but I
Good
don't
luck
know.
staying up, bud.
I don't know when it just seemed weird to me
Yeah.
because yeah, I mean I hear what you're saying, but I feel like it's kind of a cop out, you know.
Yeah, I think we're just supposed to understand that he's ignorant and he doesn't know what war is. So the fact that he's saying he loves war is probably true, but only because he doesn't know what the word war really means.
Mm, okay.
But again, that's just us kind of having to assume that because he's not a real boy. But we just, I don't know. There was just that I never felt like he was a real boy, but also I never felt like he was trying to be a real boy. He was just like, this is great. Everything's great. I want to do everything. I want to be a part of everything because I'm here and I'm down to clown, and that was it. Um,
He
it
had
just,
he had the same um sort of aura as like a fat supermodel. You know, he's
mm,
just like, I am who I am.
the best, the best to ever do it.
I ain't gonna change.
Yeah, yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. I think the biggest gripe is that we never get to enjoy Pinocchio. Like I'm thinking about it, and yeah, there really is no time where I was rooting. I was worried about what he was about to do. There was parts of me who were just like, man, I want to see what this little crazy bastard gets into. Not because there was repercussions, because he was just balls to the wall and like, yeah, let's do it, man. I love everything. And there's some quality there because he doesn't know any better, but I don't feel like there was any learning moment for him. There was no times where he would go, oh, that's why I shouldn't do this, or that's why I shouldn't say that, or that's why I shouldn't want this. And so how is he ever supposed, like, what is he learning? How is he becoming a real boy?
No, I mean if you listen to Guillermo del Toro and it sounds like you may have watched that making of featurette on Netflix too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you watch that, it you what you get from that and what they were aiming for with the story is not that Pinocchio has to learn anything. It's that everyone else has to learn. And like Pinocchio was the most purest, most innocent form of like just being yourself and not trying to be accepted by anyone and just be who you are. And it's everyone else that has to like change and learn and grow, to love Pinocchio for who he is, which, as you just described, is certainly a different take, and it's not it doesn't connect as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's no growth for him at all. There's nothing for us to see like he overcame. Like even if he was at the beginning, if at the end he was like, "Wow, this is what I learned," like no, like we saw part of that, but like I said, it just hey, he was great from the beginning, and that's all. Like he wasn't because, like I said, we've all agreed that like he himself was the most annoying part of the movie, named
Yeah.
Pinocchio.
Yeah, I don't yeah, it's tough for me to hear that and then think about the movie and go, "Yeah, I should totally been like, you know what? This guy's fresh on the planet 3 days in. I should be okay." Cuz I look at my son, I'm like, "Why are you so dumb? Why do you do dumb things?"
Hmm.
Because even with my son, if I tell him no, like if it's something that hurts him or is something that he can tell hurts me, then he won't do it. There was none of that with Pinocchio. I don't feel like there was any moment
Uh,
where he stopped and goes, "Oh, yeah, man, I remember this is," which is I feel like is that's a part of growing up. That's a part of life, and you learn from experiences, you learn from mistakes.
Yeah.
You should enjoy the world. You should see the good in everyone 100%, but that's just not how the world works. And if we're supposed to accept someone who is fully embracing those values, then we need to see the repercussions from that. There
Yeah,
was really like he at the end of the day he got what he wanted,
yeah,
and he tweedledee and tweedledod the whole movie. Which okay, sure, if you put it that way, there's some special innocence there, but also, but he can't like. There's no way he's going to continue this for the rest of his life. He's not going to be this way for the rest of his
mm-hmm.
life. So at least show us something.
Yeah,
Show us that he's learning. Show us that he's because when you're becoming a boy, like when you're a boy, you transition to a man, right? So like there's that transition. You're doing things to show, okay, you're becoming a man. There should have been some transitions that he's going from a wooden, just a piece of wood to a boy. That's what the story is. But uh, while that innocence was there, and him seeing the good in everyone was there was just nothing that showed anything else. So it's hard for me to go, yeah, like I understand that everyone needs to change the way they think, but also Pinocchio should have changed something on his end as well.
yeah. And it was there. I mean, the more I hear you talk and the more you're describing it, it was right there. They could have done it, you know. When he went to the circus, they
Hmm.
could have had him like getting into smoking crack and drug
But
addiction,
but
and
see,
then he
but
goes
that's the
off to
beautiful
war.
thing, right? 100%, because this movie was like they set it up to be a dark movie.
Yeah,
It didn't have to be crack, but like they could have cut his arm off and made a bong
yeah,
out of it, and now
yeah,
he's watching everybody smoke out of his arm and be like, "Man, that really sucks. I don't have an arm anymore,"
yeah.
Yeah,
And
And
because
then he
instead,
goes
he
off.
doesn't have lungs. So
right? Instead, he's like, "Oh, come on, guys, cut off my other arm. This is awesome."
He's
Like
like Captain America who can't get drunk. Um,
and no, but you know when you said about the innocent thing, it reminded me of when my youngest daughter Willow, when she was 2, we were setting up our Christmas tree, and she grabbed an ornament and she like bit it like it was an apple, and there was
oh,
blood out of her mouth and all. And that's the most innocent she'll ever be. She was 2, and we were like, "Whoa!" And we had to run. We didn't think she would do it. She's an innocent kid, so we didn't get
yeah,
mad at her. But we had to learn that what? No, we have to move to plastic because my kid's putting everything in her mouth,
yeah,
and she learned from it and we learned from it. Like
yeah.
it doesn't just have to be the parent, like us as parents learning from, oh, we have to accept that my kid eats things that she shouldn't.
Yeah, because
Oh, sure, you
imagine a
ate.
37-year-old, he gets married, and on his first Christmas with his new wife, she puts up ornaments, and she finds him in the morning bleeding to death because he chewed on all her ornaments because she wasn't smart enough to know that he only can have plastic ornaments because he never grew
Yeah,
up to have glass because he would just bite them. Like that's so stupid.
yeah.
Like there's learning on both sides. We don't
yeah,
have to just accept the fact that this kid eats ornaments.
yeah. Yeah, that's actually a great metaphor for for the problem with
Thank you.
this, with this plot, you know.
Who's
Um,
that? Willow or Sky? I forgot who you
that
said.
was that was Willow. It was
Willow.
Willow.
Thank you, Willow, for this. She learned more than Pinocchio did.
um, so let me shift gears here a little
Mhm.
bit and just talk about some of the things that I actually did like about the movie. Um, as I already stated, the performances. I mean, and at the top of that list is, and it's a far way from the top to the next one, because Christoph Waltz was just so good in this role, in this character. But I did like Sebastian J. Cricket, and he did have some lines that kind of made me chuckle. So I liked him. I thought it was a nice presence to have in the story. Um, I liked Ron Perlman's performance as Podesta.
Hmm.
He was one that I was like, who is that voice? Who is that voice?
No way! Come on, that was so obvious.
I'm not that big on Ron Perlman, so it was
Oh,
hard for me
see,
to detect.
I'm a Sons of Anarchy fan, so I know that
Oh,
voice is
okay.
ingrained in me.
There you go. But also, yeah, Tilda Swinton was good too. Um, but then, something that was a performance that was off screen, especially from watching that making of featurette, man, it really gave me a a a, a good appreciation and understanding of just, I mean, Guillermo del Toro. He is like a ma- genius. Like, he's a brilliant director, man. Because again, even though we're talking about all these flaws and all these things we didn't like, eventually that has more to do with the story than
Yeah.
anything else. But I mean, the art direction and the way that he, worked with these artists and all these individuals that he collaborated with, but it was all like, his direction and his say and his, input. And watching that, it just really gave me a great appreciation for, and he's been recognized now because, with The Shape of Water or whatever, winning Best Picture. It's no surprise. But I guess I kind of just always thought of him as a pretty good director, like more of a man with like a brilliant imagination, for like
Hmm.
these creatures and stuff. But seeing his work behind the scenes on this movie really gave me an appreciation for, he really is a top notch director. And it's why, Kate Blanchett will play a monkey, in a stop motion animation for him, because like they want to work with him any chance they get. So I really gained a great appreciation for that.
Yeah. You named all the famous people, which I'm sad because I feel like David Bradley as Geppetto was
Oh
phenomenal.
yes, yes,
I really enjoyed Geppetto because
yeah,
I mean that was kind of all of us. We were kind of hoping we got more Geppetto, and I
yeah,
think that is because of the voice acting we got from it. We felt the pain, we felt the turmoil, you know, the confusion, the anger, the love. We heard it all, just off of this guy's voice. So I really enjoyed Geppetto, and I do think that that was a severely missed opportunity.
yeah. And even just his voice alone, like I would listen to an audiobook, narrated by him, because he just has a great voice. But yeah, no, that was an omission on my part for sure. So definitely David Bradley did a great job. And yeah, and I mean, I guess the little boy, Gregory Mann. I mean, I don't fault the actor, so I did feel like he did a good job, at
He
least
was
playing
singing
Pinocchio.
magical.
Yeah, that voice was angelic. I didn't hate the songs. I mean, they weren't pop songs, they weren't, but I didn't
It
hate
was
them.
no Encanto, that's for
They,
sure.
oh, no,
Dang.
um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know about you guys. I think especially after watching like the making of, it just gave me, again, not only a great appreciation for Guillermo del Toro, and but also just for all the work that went into it, like for all the attention and detail, for how beautiful like it really was, for some of the decisions, some of the details that I I it made me like, even though it took me three three tries to watch it because I kept falling asleep, it still made me like, oh man, I want to watch it again now, just to with an even sharper eye for that detail and appreciation for all of those things. And I also felt like, man, maybe if I watch it again, the more I watched it, maybe the more it would grow on me. I don't know if that's true, but that's kind of the sense
Mm-mm.
that I got. It could be the opposite, like it could make me, hate Pinocchio even more. But I did kind of get that sense, just as a as a work of art, like you could, I don't think I would have a problem even just watching this on mute, and, and just watching the art, and just how incredible it really is. Um,
It's
I,
funny
I
you
think
say that. Go ahead, Kevin.
no, I had the opposite effect of Juan. I stopped watching the making of because it was making me upset because it
Because we could
everything
have
was
got.
great. No, what we could have had, and even now I'm looking at pictures. I'm like, it makes me upset because I'm like, I would want to draw this Pinocchio. I think it looks beautiful. I just don't ever want to watch this movie again. And it actually was like, I'm like, I don't want to watch this because I'm sad at what came out of it because it is beautiful. It's where I love the fact they use little ones, big ones, all that stuff was great. I'm like, oh, we use this really giant Pinocchio for the club. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But I was like, I don't. I make it made me angry, man. I just turned it off.
I got it. Okay, so I haven't seen it, and the fact that you have both now given your opinion, and they're on both sides of the spectrum, I feel like I should watch it, and we have to like do a recap to see whose side I fall on. Because you got Juan who's like, man, it made me appreciate it more. And you got Kevin who goes, man, it made me hate it more. I didn't watch it though. I didn't I really didn't know that existed. I just watched the movie. I saw the movie like 3 times now. The first time is the only time I fell asleep. Um and for the second half of the movie, I actually muted it because I knew what was coming and I just didn't care. And I actually enjoyed it watching it on mute. Um, because I had some music playing in the background. Um, and so it was interesting to just watch this because it was really nice to look at. But it's funny that you brought that up watching it on mute.
Did you have subtitles on or nothing?
Oh yeah. No, there were subtitles on.
Oh, okay.
I'm not gonna just say
Who's making up dialogue?
Make your own story.
So,
Spence tour walk around. Where my money? Get my money.
so what Mark is saying is they made a really good silent movie.
Yeah. Well, because it was just really nice to look at, and there was parts of me that was going, man, I kind of wish they did this instead. So I was picturing that while it was happening, something else was happening. Um, yeah, it's just it's this was a tough one. This was a tough one for me because I really wanted to like it. And I think it was just because of bias, because of Guillermo del Toro. Um, but it was hard to do that.
Yeah. So Kevin, as I think the only one out of the three of us that also has watched the Tom Hanks and Robert Zemeckis atrocity, which one is better?
It's funny because when I was watching that, like the first thing I said when I saw Pinocchio, I was like, "Dude, he looks like what Mark said. He looks really good. I wish this Pinocchio is what that Pinocchio looked like, because the other one looked like a cartoon." It's hard to gauge it when they're both, in my opinion, like hot piles of poop. I'm
This
like,
this
it's
is not a hot pile of
no, it's
poop.
not. It's not a hot. It's not a hot. I would give this one the edge just because the visuals. Because the other one I didn't like the visuals either. So I would give this one the edge, like the edge. But I would not rewatch either one of them.
That Pinocchio from Zemeckis was nightmare fuel.
Yeah, I just
I remember that plastic face.
yeah, like I'm like y'all didn't even bother like with all the money y'all have. Y'all didn't even bother to make him look like a wooden boy, man. He looks animated. I'm
He
like,
looks like
okay,
he was made in China.
yeah.
He looks like Sandra Bullock in Bullet Train.
Ah,
Why do you have a hate on Sandra?
no, not
Uh,
SB. Come on, man.
I like her.
She did nothing.
I don't like
She,
seeing her as a wax statue.
hey, man, that's what old age and money does to you.
Yeah, it is. All right, Mark. Any final words or give us your rating?
Well, my final words are, I think you should give this movie a chance because I do think there are some people out there that will enjoy it for what it is. That people who will find Pinocchio, lovable because of how naive and childlike he is. Um, and those are people who don't have kids. Because if you have kids and you watch this, you're just going to be annoyed with Pinocchio. Um, so I think, you know, there should have been a shift of view change, and it really should have been on Geppetto, or even Jay Cricket. Watching through his I don't know through his eyes, anything other than Pinocchio, because he wasn't likable as a character. So it's hard for us to watch this movie. We don't enjoy the main character.
Yeah.
Should I give my rating? Sorry.
Yeah.
Wait, before you say that, like I feel like if you don't have kids and you watch it, you'll leave saying, "This is why I
I
don't
don't
have
watch
children.
it.
This is why I don't have these."
Which is kind of true because he does a lot of stupid kid things, but on the bright side for actual human being kids is that they will eventually learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have a capacity to love you back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
If I could give a quote to summarize and review this movie, it would be Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, the new Planned Parenthood.
Wow, beautiful. Let's put it on the DVD box.
What is Juan is on fire tonight.
All right. Well, I'll give since this was my pick. I'll give my review. We're doing five little Jerry's now, right?
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Um. Yeah, I'm gonna have to just go right down the middle at a 3 because I can see myself watching this again because of how pretty it was to look at, but it's gonna be like certain scenes, and outside of that, that's pretty much it. I think this was like a softball pitch home run, and it was a swing and a miss. Um, I don't want to say that thousands of hours were wasted because it was just wonderful to look at. Um, but it's just like thousands of hours could have been put into something a little bit better. The story, the story is it starts off so great. Like it just starts off so great with the relationship between Geppetto and Carlo, and like Geppetto's downfall, and then like his confusion having to deal with this brand new thing that is Pinocchio, and then all of a sudden it's just like the Pinocchio show. Um, I think that killed it, and they were trying to do something different, and they should have stayed different. And yeah, for that missed opportunity, I'm going to give this three little Jerry's.
Okay. For me, yeah, basically for all the reasons that have already been stated, um, I still appeal and stand by the fact that it is an incredible work of art, just visually. I really and I'm sure it'd be the same if I saw making a featurette for, Olive Dogs or Fantastic Mr. Fox or Nightmare Before Christmas. Like just that this way of storytelling is just so impressive because of the amount of work that it requires, and especially with this one, it just, I don't know, it really felt like fine tuned, and it really felt like it took it to another level. So it was very, very impressive. So because of that alone, and because of that, I probably would watch it again, whether it was on mute or not. I would probably watch it again just to kind of admire that, and to pay even more attention to just kind of continue to be awestruck by that. But yeah, story wise, I mean, there's really nothing here, except for those good performances. So for me, it's a 2 out of 5 little Jerry's.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm.
Now, one thing, by the way, that I just want to say, um, in the beginning, I did think Carlo was gonna die of like some disease, not the bomb. So when the bomb hit, you know what? I give it a little bit of credit. It surprised me. What also surprised me was how that pine cone survived that bomb, and the little boy did not. So that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Um, and then my favorite part was when they got blown out of the blowhole, whatever that thing was. When that happened, Willow stood up and she's like, "Whoa, Scaramouche, Scaramouche!" And that was just the funniest thing in my life. She like yelled it out,
All
and
right.
then so that made me chuckle. But here we are. We are a podcast called We Like Movies. Um, I would buy an art of a book about this, even if it costs like $50. I'm like, ooh, 50, $80. Love the art, like an art of the making of. I would buy it. But again, we like movies, not we like art books. We are also not we like effort. So why I believe they put a lot of effort into it. Great. It's the movie itself is what we are rating. I would give it a 1, not a 0. Like I said, it looks pretty, but it is a 1. Like because as a movie, I think ultimately it is what it is, and I would never watch this movie again. Not
Wow,
on silent, not on anything.
that's tough. So
That's
you don't see
crazy.
any. You don't see any of your kids going, "Hey, let's watch Pinocchio."
None of them have asked to watch this movie again. Like literally, no. I'm like, when it was done, they just walked off. They didn't say anything. Usually they're like, "Ooh, nothing. I'm done." I was like, "Okay."
Dude,
Interesting.
I think you had a more favorable opinion of the Sea Beast, which is crazy.
Yeah, because you know what? The Sea Beast wasn't what this was, man. You know what I mean? At least I didn't find that at least that blue little creature was adorable and stuff. And yeah, it's not. This wasn't, like I said, ultimately I don't want to hate on it because I love Guillermo del Toro. Um I applaud that they put effort into it and all that stuff, but we're just rating the movie. And the movie, it's not anything I would recommend for anyone to see,
What the
except to just
Yeah.
look to look. I'm like, hey, if you want to see it, it's great. The story is going to be really lacking. So, but if you want to see some pretty stuff, there you go, man.
Interesting. Very interesting.
And that is my review. There you go. So
That was very sad review there.
it's literally called Sad Piano, and it was ready.
Hmm. All right, he ends it with a little bit of flair there.
With a bang.
Yeah, for the
Yeah, I noticed he
dramatic.
only does sound effects when he's talking.
Yeah,
Because I don't know. I don't want to interrupt you. I don't want to step on your
I
toes.
was gonna say, except for some sort of smacking or banging in the background there, this episode was sadly depleted of sound effects.
Those were the sound effects. We just didn't get it.
It wasn't working. I was trying to be a Foley artist here.
Oh, that was the banging. He was trying to get it to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on. Come on.
Come on.
Look, you want me to? Fine. I will work on throwing more in and interrupting y'all.
I'm okay. I could roll with the punches. I don't know about Juan, but I can.
I don't take it as an interruption. It's like a highlight, an emphasis.
See, like while we've been talking, there it is. I was gonna say, during this time we've been talking, he could have interrupted us. He has not, but he finally did.
I will apologize and I
Hey,
will work on that. It's new. It's new. It's new.
It's been a while. So who goes next?
Me.
One.
Kevin, I think I know your pick already.
Everybody knows my pick.
All right, fair enough.
Unless Juan picks it.
Nah, he ain't picking it.
We'll see. Well, all right, gentlemen. We've done all we've done all we could here, and on that note,
I just won up, baby.
bon voyage.
Love you.
Oh my.
Later.